Then we got to get into the slip and the slide tools. Before I get into that, let me show you that there are some hotkeys to slip your cut to your positioner, and there's also a hotkey to slide to the positioner. And then we're going to dig into these other options, slip and slide cuts, and so on. Let me move my positioner over there, and let me select this cut right here. And let's say I want to slip my cut to the positioner, right? If I hold Shift D and hit the up arrow key, I slip that cut to the positioner. So once again, Shift D, up arrow key, slips your cut to the positioner. Let's talk about sliding to the positioner. So if I move this over to here, I've got my cut selected. I want to slide it over to the positioner. It's D, up arrow key, and now we slide the cut. And of course, again, if Ripple is on or off, is going to affect all the media after the cut, but it doesn't change the actual action when you perform a slip cut to positioner or a slide cut to positioner. But the big difference of slide cut to positioner and slip cut to positioner are the frames being changed that are being used for the head frames and the tail frames of the two clips where the cut is taking place. One more time, slip cut to positioner, Shift D up arrow. Slide cut to positioner, D up arrow. With that said, that's a great transition to start talking about our slip and our slide tools. I'll zoom in once again to here, and let's find our clip. Okay, let's work it. I'll work on these two right here. One thing I want to do is change a preference. Right now, if you'll notice, when you select or your cursor is over a clip, you are seeing the frames for the tail and the head, but only for the selected clip and only for the clip that is highlighted. So let's go to our preferences, Command, comma, brings up our preferences. And right here on the timeline tab, you have this segment display. By default, as I said, show handles on selected. I'm going to expand that and choose show all handles. This way, when I close this, now every clip is displaying the handles for the heads and the tail. In fact, let's go and do a little roll edit here to add a couple frames to this for demonstration. Okay, the first thing I want to talk about, and I did mention this in the very beginning when we started talking about these tools. Obviously, there are hotkeys to access each tool. And what that means is when I hit the S key, I actually turn on the slip tool. Now, even with slip on or any other tool, bring your cursor to the head or the tail of a clip and you can still do your roll edits. Doesn't matter, that's always available to you. But when you have slip activated, I don't get the option to select, well, I can select the cut point, but I can't do anything with it except for use my hotkeys to manipulate it. The point is, with the slip tool activated, my cursor is functioning differently. It's now the slip tool. Of course, that makes sense. And what do? You bring your cursor into this clip. Notice the frames that we are at for head, 1678, and my tail, 1607. I can now click in this clip and I can slip the frames that we're using within the edit of the segment itself. Pretty straightforward, I know. Now, let me hit the A key, which is going to bring me back to my select tool. And now let's say I'm editing and I want to access the slip tool, but I don't want to switch my cursor to the slip tool. I only want it for a split second or just while you make a quick slip. So this is where instead of hitting the S key to activate the slip tool, I can hold down the S key and now I can temporarily access the slip tool, make my manipulation, then release the S key and I'm back to my select tool. That's true for all the tools available to you inside of this flyout. More importantly, when I hold down the S key, I now can go and use my left and right arrow keys to dynamically slip this clip. So you see that? I'm holding the S key and I'm using my left and right arrow keys. So let's go to the flyout. We have our slide. And notice that my slide tools currently are yellow. Why is that? Can anyone answer that? Good answer in the back there. It's because Ripple is on. We turn off Ripple, we go back, we now have a different tool. Well, it's still the slide tool, but we're now in overwrite mode, if you will, because Ripple is off. So you will get a different result, of course. If I take my slide tool and I drag this and I start to manipulate this going each direction, notice that we're seeing what frames are being eliminated or altered on the incoming and outcoming clip, and we are sliding our clip. We are not changing the current frames that are being used in the segment that I am sliding. I am changing the frames that are being used on the incoming and outgoing clip. But all the media after this clip later in the timeline is not being affected in any way whatsoever. Let's hit the R key, turn on ripple. Let's do the same thing. I start to slide this. What's happening? All the media after this is going to ripple according to my adjustment. The tail frames of the clip to the left of this segment is going to be altered and changed depending upon how far I drag this clip to the left. And after I slide to the left, if I slide back to the right, there will be a gap because I altered the tail frames of this segment to the left. And the same rules apply as far as accessing the tool, the slide tool, on a temporary basis. Hit the A key again, go back to my select tool. I come over here, I hold the D key down, and now I can go and I can temporarily access this. And again, I'm creating a gap in there because the fact that ripple was on. Let me turn that off, turn ripple off, hold the D key, click and drag, and again, you see the same result we had before. And remember, performing this slide is actually going to take advantage of snap if it's on. You can see that I'm snapping to the positioner there. So that's another good point to keep in mind. If you have markers in here and you've enabled the option to snap to markers, this slide action will take advantage of your snap option if it's on. And the other thing, once again, I hold the D key, but I'm using my left and right arrow keys to go and dynamically slide this clip to where I want it to be. All right, let me activate the next tool, which is the Slide Cuts tool. And you can use the shortcut hotkey of Shift D to access the Slide Cuts tool. Now this one's a little tricky to understand at first, but think of it this way. This is the best way it was explained to me. Thank you, Grant, by the way. It is a slip and a slide at the same time. If I bring my cursor in here, it's important, let me move this out of the way so we can see what the frames are for my head, my tail, for the incoming, outcoming clip, and also the clip that I'm about to drag on. But I'm going to just click and start to drag, and you see what's happening? I'm altering both the in and out of my current clip. I'm also altering the frames for the two adjacent clips. So I'm slipping and sliding my clip at the same time. Let's enable ripple by hitting R. You'll see it, cursor turns yellow. Do the same thing. So now what's happening? I'm not altering the frames after this clip, but I will alter the frames prior to it if I can drag it into that. But of course, when I drag back the other direction, we create a gap because of ripple is on. Okay, undo that. As we talked about before, I will go to the Select tool or hit the A key. I'll hold Shift D, and I'll use my left and right arrow keys to do exactly what we were doing before. I'm not only moving the clip in my timeline, I'm also changing and altering, sliding the frames that are being used. All right, last tool is the Slide keyframe. It is Shift S to access that tool. So we need some keyframes. Did I delete those keyframes from before? Let me hit the Home button. Oh, I thought we still had, I must have deleted those keyframes. So let's just go back over here. Let's use whatever. Doesn't really matter what clip. I'll go with this one here. So let's select this clip. Let me go back, hit A, get my select tool. I'll go to my effects ribbon. We'll add another axis effect really quick. Create a keyframe, turn on auto key, make an adjustment. That makes absolutely no sense, but who cares? I'll move forward a couple frames. We'll go and we'll scale this back down a little bit, move forward a couple frames, and then manipulate it like that. Okay. All I wanted was some keyframes. So we've got some keyframes on here. Now, if I want to slide these keyframes, Shift S, I access the Slide keyframe tool, and you can imagine what it's going to do. It's going to slide the keyframes. You can see the blue lines are sliding as I'm manipulating them. So this is really handy, though, when you need to alter and change the keyframes, and you don't want to go into the editor and access the curve editor. You just want to slide them. Very easy, very fast way of doing it.